Commander Marcus Chen had earned many names during his 30 years of military service across the outer colonies. The Covenant forces called him the Ghost of Proxima. Pirates whispered of Chen the Relentless. But it was the apex predator of Kepler 442b that gave him the most unexpected title of all. The first encounter occurred during what should have been a routine patrol through the dense crimson forests of the planet's northern continent. Chen's reconnaissance team had been tracking unusual energy signatures when the creature emerged from the undergrowth like liquid shadow given form. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, its obsidian carapace gleaming with an oily iridescence that seemed to absorb light itself. 6 limbs moved with impossible grace, each ending in talons capable of slicing through reinforced steel. Its elongated head, crowned with sensory spines, turned toward the humans with a predatory intelligence that made Chen's survival instincts scream warnings. Chen's team raised their weapons, but he held up a hand. Something in the creature's posture didn't suggest aggression. It was curious, tilting its massive head to study him with molten amber eyes. When it spoke, the words came through their translation matrix as a low, rumbling whisper. Deathbringer. The creature, which Chen would later learn was called a Kaithvar, stepped closer. Chen's team tensed, but he remained still, watching as the alien predator circled him slowly. Its claws traced the air mere centimeters from his face, testing, evaluating. You have the scent, the Kaithvar continued, its voice like grinding stone. The scent of those who walk between worlds, who take life to preserve life. Chen had seen enough combat to understand death intimately. He had made hard choices, pulled triggers when necessary, and carried the weight of command decisions that saved some lives at the cost of others. Somehow, this creature recognized that burden in him. Many of your kind fear us, the Kaithvar said. You do not. Should I? Chen asked quietly. Perhaps, but fear makes prey of the living. You are not prey, Deathbringer. You are kindred. Over the following months, as Chen's unit established forward operating Base Crimson, the encounters continued. The Kaithvar, who eventually revealed its name as Vexthac, would appear from the forest at unpredictable intervals. Sometimes it simply observed the humans at work. Other times, it engaged Chen in philosophical discussions about survival, death, and the terrible mathematics of keeping others alive. Chen learned that the Kaithvar were not merely predators, but guardians of their territory. They eliminated threats, maintained balance, and understood, as Chen did, that violence was sometimes the price of peace. Vexthac began calling him Korthmi, Uncle Death in the Kaithvar tongue. Not death itself, but death's wise relative, the one who understood its necessity and wielded it with purpose rather than malice. The relationship might have remained philosophical if not for the morning Chen found Vexthac waiting at the base perimeter, its usual predatory grace replaced by something almost desperate. Kormi? The creature rumbled. I require assistance. Chen approached cautiously. Vexthac was injured, ichor seeping from wounds along its flank. But it wasn't the blood that struck him as wrong. The proud predator's posture was different, protective, almost maternal. The consuming swarm comes, Vexthac explained, referring to the hive-minded insectoid horde that periodically swept across continents, devouring everything in its path. My territory, my younglings, they will not survive the crossing. Chen then saw them. 3 small shadows huddled beneath Vexthac's bulk. The cubs were perhaps a quarter of their parents' size, their carapaces still soft and vulnerable, their amber eyes wide with instinctive terror. You would trust me with them? Chen asked, realizing the magnitude of the request. Deathbringers understand the value of life, Vexthac replied. You will do what must be done to preserve them, as I must do what must be done to turn the swarm. Chen knew it was essentially a suicide mission. A single Kaithvar, even one as formidable as Vexthac, couldn't stop an entire swarm, but it might redirect them, lead them away from critical nesting grounds at the cost of its own life. How long? Chen asked. The swarm passes in 7 rotations. After that, they will be safe to return. Chen looked at the cubs, then back at Vexthac. What do they eat? The next week tested every leadership skill Chen had developed. Explaining to his superiors why he was harboring 3 alien predators required creative interpretations of first contact protocols. Managing his team's fear while teaching them to handle creatures that could theoretically tear them apart demanded every ounce of his authority. But the cubs, Zix, Kayla, and more as Chen named them, proved surprisingly adaptable. They were curious about human technology, learned to recognize individuals, and displayed a startling capacity for play. Chen found himself moved by their trust, the way they curled near his quarters at night, their soft purring a strange comfort. On the fourth day, long-range sensors detected the swarm's massive biosignature moving across the continent. By the sixth day, energy discharges revealed that someone or something was leading the horde away from the forest territories. On the seventh day, the swarm passed beyond sensor range, moving toward the planet's southern pole, where climate would halt their advance. Vexthac never returned. Chen was reviewing supply requisitions when the cubs found him 3 months later. They had grown significantly, their carapaces hardening, their movements fluid and precise. When they saw him, they made the same sound he remembered from those first nights, the purring of contentment and safety. Cormy Zix spoke the first word Chen had heard from any of them. Uncle Death. They stayed for an hour, accepting his gentle touches, sharing what Chen could only interpret as gratitude. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they melted back into the forest to claim their inheritance. Chen never saw them again, but sometimes, when his patrols ventured deep into the Crimson Woods, he would catch glimpses of shadows moving parallel to his path, watching, protecting. The colonists who eventually arrived at Kepler 442b found themselves under the unofficial protection of creatures that seemed to regard humans with unusual benevolence. The Kaithvar allowed settlements in their territory, guided lost travelers to safety, and kept more dangerous predators at bay. Chen retired to administrative duties but kept the title Vexthac had given him. Sometimes the greatest honor was understanding that death and life were partners in an ancient dance, and wisdom lay in knowing when to lead and when to follow. In the end, perhaps that was what made humans special in the galaxy. Not their capacity for violence, but their ability to recognize when violence served a greater purpose. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.